everybody, welcome back to Armchair Quarterbacks. I am Michael Worth.
I am Nick Duran. Make sure you like and subscribe down at the bottom. Sharing is caring. We have a lot to cover this week. Unfortunately, it is a depressing week for Colorado sports. We always have a depressing week when it comes to the Rockies, but throwing in the Avalanche and the Nuggets in there, definitely not what we had hoped for going in.
Yeah, it was sad because it wasn't even like they were competitive. They both let us down in epic ways. So
epic waves.
Let's talk about the Avalanche first, since they lost first. Got eliminated 4-2. They were basically 6 minutes away in Game 3 to going up 3-0.
Yep.
And they lost, and then they lost, and then they lost, and then they lost.
It was embarrassing to basically get swept. I don't even care about the first two wins. To lose 4 in a row to a team that is good. Like I'll give
I think they're
credit to Vegas.
Second best team in the NHL.
We just did not play the way we needed to play, and I think the game one, when we won 7-1, was an absolute fluke based off of how we played the next 6 games, really 5 games, because even in game 2 we got lucky. I'm not gonna lie, even though we won 3-2 in overtime, we just didn't look like the team that we needed to be, and we were just getting outplayed, flat out outplayed.
Yeah, I read that we are the first NHL team to win our first 6 hockey playoff games and then lose the next 4 and be eliminated. So we swept, and we went 2-0 and then 4, and that's the first time that's ever happened. So that's an accolade we'll put up on the shelf.
Yeah, it's so watching the series, it's effort wasn't there the last 5 games, but I think too, some light at the end of the tunnel. I still think we're in a good spot going into next season. We have to make some good from a trading standpoint. I think there's a couple holes that we need to fill. Would you do, the gladiator, up or down, save or kill?
Right. They're definitely they're thumb up. They're in the
thumb
right
up. But would you do this for Grubauer, up or down? Would you
replacement? I mean, it's not like he had a pretty bad series against the Knights, but they also were on attack a lot. And who are you going to replace him with? I mean,
true. I mean, it's just the throwing it out there. He had a good season overall.
I mean, he's a finalist for best goalie of the year. I forget the name of it. I forget all the names of NHL.
The Vezina Trophy.
Vezina Trophy. That's right. So he's a finalist. That means he had top 3. He's not going to win it, but that's a accomplishment. So it's hard to say you can upgrade him easily because he's not bad.
I mean, he's of the playoff goalies. I think he was bottom 3rd.
Yeah, he could have been, and that's easy to argue that he was bottom 3rd of the 16. So that makes him a top 12 goalie at worst.
True.
Now our free agents, Grubauer is a free agent. Landeskog, those are our key free agents. And then we have the draft, the expansion draft. So we might have some players who are going to be at risk. We could only protect 7 forwards and 3 defensemen. So
I'm okay with it if they let Landeskog go.
I was going to think we were going to disagree on this one, and I think that's my same thought. I think he's good. He'll be 29. He's not great. He disappeared in the second round. They couldn't even find a spot for him in a rotation. They were putting him in and out. He's a borderline 3rd string center or 3rd string. He's not quite a second line guy anymore.
No, I mean he's lost a step. I'm sorry, you're not a fighter, so don't stop fighting. I feel like he gets in the scrum way too much. You never saw a captain from a Joe Sakic standpoint or a Sidney Crosby, always want to mess it up and rough it up with people. That's just not what they do. And I think because he is not the player that he once was, still good, but not great like he used to be. He has to find a new role, and that role maybe, trying to be the motivator, I guess, but it's just not in the deck of cards for me. Like, I don't think that he's a good fit anymore on the Avs. I don't think he adds value as he once did. So I'm okay if they move on from Landeskog. You're not going to see me shed one tear.
If he buys into the role of, like $1.5 million a year for his contract, and he becomes a third team grinder instead of that, being on the first line or the second line, and he's there for the extra minutes and extra ice time, I think he becomes a very valuable asset to our team. But being somebody we need to count on in our top two is not his role on a hockey team anymore. I'm not on a contender.
Correct. I mean, speaking of the top line though, outside of Rantanen, that top line was literally a ghost in the second. Outside of that first game, we talked
about how Nathan MacKinnon showing up, putting his big boy pants on, and he maybe had 2 assists in the last 4 games total or something like that. It was bad.
It was not good to be, considered one of the top 2 players in the world, and to show up or not show up like he did. I will say this though. I will say it's a little different in hockey than it is in, like, for example, basketball, where a Stephen Curry or a LeBron James or a, Damian Lillard can literally put a team on their back and will them to win and score. 20
minutes on the ice or something, you're not going to be on attack for the full 20 minutes. So yeah, it's not Michael Jordan of hockey. I mean, Wayne Gretzky is the Michael Jordan of hockey, and he basically put teams on his back, but he didn't win Stanley Cups every year. So,
but the difference being is that, there's a great documentary out on Netflix. Yeah, so on Netflix, there's this documentary where it talks about when Wayne Gretzky played versus currently and they really specifically use Sidney Crosby, and they talked about how it was widely known that if you were to touch Wayne in any way, shape, or form, that you're going to have to deal with these 3 guys from an enforcer standpoint, and it wasn't worth fighting these 3 guys, losing teeth and getting knocked out of a game to touch Wayne Gretzky. So no one did. So I'm not saying that he wasn't the great, top 2 great hockey players ever, but from getting physical, roughing up, literally, letting him score at will per se, versus now, Sidney Crosby, is so concussion prone because he gets attacked left and right, and he's like an open target. Being that he's so good, or Nathan MacKinnon is so good, it's harder for them to create the same type of offensive, relevance as Wayne Gretzky did, because the documentary just highlights, hey, like back in the day, no one touched these top players because these guys, these fighters would come out of the bench, come out of their dungeon and literally knock your head off, versus now there's so many protections and rules against all these, these players, where fighting is, 5-10 minute major versus a 2 back in the day. It changed the game. And so I think it takes the scoring out of it, and it takes the ability for someone like a Nathan MacKinnon to put the team on his back and score 5 goals in a game, or 3 goals in a game, or 2 goals and 4 assists, not when it's, blown open or wide open on a backup goalie, but when it really matters. So I think it's a little different, but it's a good documentary to watch.
I'll have to watch it. So I mean, off season, we don't sign Landeskog. You say upgrade Grubauer. I don't think I know a whole lot about the upcoming free agents yet. I haven't looked at that for other teams. But if we could get an upgrade at one position, you say goalie. That's the one.
I mean, we'll look at Montreal. They don't have the greatest defense. They don't have the greatest offense. They're catching fire at the right time, which is good for them. Kudos to them. But there was like the one caption or whatever that's been floating around on Instagram and ESPN, basically saying, why would you spend $10.5 million on a goalie? And and Montreal's response is to stop $50 million with the forwards.
Yeah.
And they flat out, beat the crap out of Toronto, and no one picked Montreal to be as good as they are currently. And so, I don't think they're a team to sleep on for Vegas going into this next round.
Yeah, I mean, you look in the history of the NHL, you see the teams that won the Stanley Cup. It's always a Hall of Fame goal. It seems like.
Yeah, we won our Stanley Cups with Patrick Waugh. Let's be
Mhm.
real.
Yep. And then I mean Martin Brodeur,
Hmm.
lots of big guys, big goalies with a lot of skill winning Stanley Cup.
Yes,
And the year that we did not have a good team and made the playoffs for the first time in a while, Varlamov was one of the best goalies in the league too. You know, it was like
correct.
7 years ago, and we had no business being in the playoffs at all, and we ended up getting a 2 seed because he was lights out.
I mean, even Fleury from Vegas. He's a stud. He's an absolute stud. I still think Vegas is going to win the series against Montreal,
Yeah,
but but here's the thing: it took Fleury wasn't always that good.
right.
He was pretty good with Pittsburgh, and then had some really really bad years, and then has come on in the last 3 years with Vegas. Breathing his second life. Maybe it's like the steroid jerk. Who knows? But
You get in the right system with the right scheme and the right defenseman in front of you, and
correct.
so. But let's go to the next of the letdowns. Which this one, I mean, the Avalanche were a better team and in position because health wise to make a better run this year. But the Nuggets just
Terrible.
fluttered, man. They were terrible. Everybody but Jokic was terrible. We were shooting um, 33, 34% if you take him out of the lineup.
Yep.
We were in a high to low 30s every single game. It was awful. And then what was really frustrating to me, that he got thrown out on such a bogus freaking flagrant two.
Ridiculous.
But
Ridiculous.
the only time the rest of the team played hard in the entire series was the last 10 minutes that Jokic wasn't even playing. And
Hmm.
everybody started to try to play hard. There was movement, there was people cutting to the basket and all of this going on. But everybody looked so flat, so awful, so terrible. It was just hard to watch. We were being outscored on average 18 points a game.
Do you think, when going into the playoffs, and I was like, we played really well going into the
Mm-hmm.
playoffs.
Yeah.
And even in the first series, we didn't, it wasn't terrible against Portland. But the absence of Jamal Murray, I think going into this series, it really, you know, I guess showed a spotlight on
Yeah.
that lack of guard presence and the lack of killer instinct from anyone on the
Mm-hmm.
court, um, including the Joker. From hey, like I'm going to take the game over, like a Dame Lillard, like I did back in last year against Utah and against the Clippers, and score 50 points and you know let it all hang out. That's, there was just no one on the Nuggets that wanted to step up. Michael Porter Jr. was non-existent
Awful.
in a lot of games.
Aaron
You know,
Gordon was awful.
shooting. There should be never be a game where what he says he shoots 4 times in a game
Yeah.
ever.
And then there was games where he was like 3 of 13, 3 or 14 or something like that. So um they said his back was flaring up, and maybe that's the case, and he was playing through pain. But God, he was awful. He was so
Bad.
bad. You know what I noticed too? A lot of standing around watching Jokic play. He was up at the top of the key, and throughout every single game of his career as being a Denver Nugget, you got cutters, you got ball
Hmm.
movement, you got all of this stuff, but everybody was just watching him at the top of the key, spotting up for threes or
Yep.
whatever. Even non-shooters were out there spotting. Nobody moving to the basket. Nobody moving, setting picks or screens. It was either stand there and watch or come get a handoff from him. There was nobody cutting. It was so weird. Um, it was hard to watch.
Yeah, they just look like a completely different team. I felt that they matched up okay against the Suns,
Yeah.
but give the Suns credit, just like got to give Vegas credit. They just came in and they wanted it more, and I'm excited to see the Suns and maybe Utah, two teams that you don't normally see in the Western Conference
Yeah.
Finals. Definitely, if any of those teams win it, they've never won a championship, neither the Nuggets, but it would just
Yeah.
be cool to see.
Utah, I would love Utah to win and it'd be Phoenix versus Utah because I don't want the Clippers to win. Even though the Clippers aren't the Lakers, it's still same MO.
Still LA.
Yeah, same MO with the way the media covers them. So yeah, I would definitely like to see the Suns versus the Jazz. But to your point with Jamal Murray being there, what we really lacked, and we talked about it in the past, is we were thin at guards.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Paul and Devin Booker. Jamal Murray's not going to stop them. He's not going to be able to contain them, but he's going to make them work on the other end. I
Correct. They're
mean,
not going to be as lethal on the offensive zone because they have to work harder playing defense.
yeah, so we did miss him. Is he the difference in us winning that series? Not with the way that they played as a team. Absolutely not. He's not 18 points. He's not plus 18 in the box scores on a nightly basis. So no, we don't win just because Jamal Murray, but I do think because his element, there'd be a whole lot more competitiveness.
I don't think we would have been swept.
No, not at all. I mean, I think just having him is not the difference, but I think the mentality of the entire team. And you know what? Maybe I hate to make mistake or hate to make excuses for him, but maybe they're just tired at the end. The Nuggets were the last team of the Final Four last season to still be in it. All the other teams were either injured or out, and there was not a big gap. There was not a big break for teams who went deep into the playoffs last year. And so
Yep.
they looked slow, they looked sluggish. But again, if you look at that team, it was just Barton, Morris, and Jokic who was on that team last year. So that's not really a good excuse.
So going into the offseason, we need Murray healthy and we need another guard.
Yeah, a D3 guard would be nice. Somebody who can spot up and lock down guards, because Aaron Gordon I think he just had an off series. I don't know what was going on with him. So I think he will be fine coming back. I think Porter will be good again. Murray, if he gets healthy. I would like to upgrade the point guard position, or the other guard position. Murray's, I guess, technically the point guard, but Barton, I still, my feelings are still the same for Will Barton. So if we could upgrade
Your
over him,
favorite player of all time.
yeah, if we could get him upgraded, and then Millsap's gone. I don't know if we got JaMychal Green for another year, but I'd rather, if he's not under contract, it'd be nice to get him upgraded. But it's the NBA, and we got 2 max contracts, and so not a lot of freedom to do much except sign your players and trade. Do we make a trade? Do we? Because here is the thing: if we don't give Michael Porter Jr. a max contract, somebody else will in a year.
Mm-hmm.
And so, is he right now a max contract player? In my opinion, no. But can we upgrade over him within the salary cap rules?
I don't think we can. Not at this point. I don't think there's anyone out there like him outside of maybe Kevin Durant. You're not going to go get him anyway. So
Right.
I think Michael Porter Jr. has a lot more upside and still young, still in the second year, really second year. And I don't think losing it. Like we talked multiple times on our podcast about him being a true number 2.
Yeah.
And having the potential to be there. So I don't think you give him up. If I had a chance to give up Murray for Lillard all day long and twice on Sunday. But obviously like that's not, the case. So it's just really interesting to see what's going to happen. I'm curious to see kind of, obviously like this is Denver, but I'm curious to see like what's going to happen. Is Steph Curry going to stay in Oak or in Sacramento or wherever
There's people that I know out here who wholeheartedly think Chris Paul's leaving and Steph Curry is coming here. And there's been nothing. When I say here, I mean Phoenix, where I am. They think he's coming to the Suns, and I mean, I've never seen anything about him wanting to leave or joining the Suns. But I don't know if they know somebody, but they're guaranteeing it. So I don't know. Maybe you got an insider move. But yeah, I think I agree. You can't. You're not going to be able to upgrade over Porter, not within the rules of the salary cap, and not within people wanting to come to Denver. So if we can get somebody impactful on the defensive side within our like mid-level exception, I think will be great. I think just healthy wise, we were probably the best starting 5 in the league up into Murray getting hurt.
Correct. I agree.
After that Gordon trade, we looked really, really good. Everything was moving well. So, I mean, I read comment boards way too much, and the overall fans, it seems like they want to move on from Porter instead of giving him a big contract. And
Why? He's only been
I
here for
don't.
2
That's
years.
what that I don't get. It's like they're saying.
Are they watching the same game that we're watching?
I don't know. I don't know. And you can't read comment boards too much. But so the overall of what I'm getting is he doesn't play defense and he didn't have a good playoff series. And we have Murray and Jokic. Well, now, if you look at when we gave Murray a max contract, he had never even been to the playoffs. So they're comparing Murray, 50-point bubble Murray, and getting a max contract to this Michael Porter. And I think people forget how unestablished Jamal Murray was. Like he had shown, in reality, he had shown not a whole lot of flashes
Correct.
leading up to that max contract. And then the San Antonio playoff series, in the first year that he played, he had some big games, big quarters. And then the next year is when he was like, okay, Jamal Murray is a max contract player. So it was, 2 years after signing, we were finding out that, what we knew was he had the potential. But
Correct.
never.
I think MPJ has the potential. I still think he's our future, along with Jokic. But it's
Yeah,
gonna be
and
interesting.
he's shown like more than just potential at this point, in my opinion. He was, when Murray went down, he was like 22-9 or something like that.
Did these people forget that without MPJ we wouldn't even be in the position we were in the playoffs? Like we would have the 8th seed.
Yeah, exactly. After Murray went down and he was able to expand his role on offense, he was shooting like 56% from the field and 45% from three as a high volume scorer. He scored
Right.
22 points on those percentages at 22 years old.
And I'm pretty sure we broke down the stats on that one right before,
Yeah.
right after Murray went out. We basically said he needs to play between 32 and 38 minutes a game.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to shoot X amount, and that's exactly what he went and did. And the Nuggets went 22-9.
Yeah, he disappeared in the playoffs. He was 22 years old and disappeared in the second round. He had a good first round. He played well against Portland. I don't know what happened to him in the second round. So yeah, maybe injuries, but yeah, he did disappear. But that doesn't negate the fact that he's 22 years old, 6'10", and as a high volume scorer, I bet you he was at the very least third on percentage wise for 3-pointers without looking it up. And that's including anybody who shot more than 7 a game. So like Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, all those guys, none of them shot 45% from the field for threes. Mm-hmm. So it's not like he was shooting 2 a game. He was shooting 7, 8 a game. So I don't know.
Who knows, man? But so moving on to the third worst team, or
what sucks about moving on to them is they're the only ones playing right now.
Yeah, it's true. I'd rather watch the Broncos practice than the Rockies play a real game.
Oh God, it's awful.
Really, like the only thing to talk about for the Rockies, I guess, in my opinion, is Trevor Story coming off the injured reserve list, and who are we going to trade him to? Because we are not keeping him. It's like mathematical impossibility for us to keep Trevor Story. He's a free agent after this season, so it would behoove us to trade him to get something back.
If knowing that they have not even approached contract extension negotiations since like the end of last baseball season, and there was nothing even close, and they haven't even went back to see. There's really zero chance he's coming back to play for the Colorado Rockies in 2022. So
he's not going to be. I mean, they're going to trade him within the next 30 days.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You have to trade him now because after the All-Star game or after the trade, they're usually within each other. After that July, whatever date trade deadline, he has
right on the 20th.
Correct. Zero value because he's not going to be on your team in the offseason. He's not going to sign, and he's just going to walk away and you're going to get probably the highest compensatory pick in the draft for him. So you get to pick 33rd. So, I mean, how many 33rd overall picks have made it or later have made it to the All-Star game since the induction of the MLB draft? Probably
Fernando Tatis Jr.
Less than 40 of them have been All-Stars, I'm assuming, in the last 10 years. maybe even, you know, in the last 20 years, I would say less than 42nd round picks or later have been all-stars.
True.
It's not the NFL. It's not.
Well, I mean, Mike Trout was picked 26th.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Trout is one of them, and there are a handful of people, but
He might be the greatest player to ever play baseball. He's picked 26th.
yeah, it's sad that 25 teams passed up on him, because it's not like he came into the league 5 or 6 years after developing in the minors. He came into the league like the end of his first season after being drafted. He was like 18 or 19 years old. So how 25 or 26 teams did not draft him, and he was that ready to play in the major leagues at 18 years old, that's insane.
It's like passing on Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me. But of the teams that are looking, you know, like obviously the New York, the Colorado Yankees.
Colorado Yankees, the Colorado Cardinals.
I don't think he's going to go to either one of those teams.
Now, who do you think's going to put in a bid? I mean, if I was a major league team, I would put in a trade offer for, like we were talking about, refill my Pepsi machine. You know?
Speaking of refilling Pepsi machines, I think he's going to go to the Oakland Athletics.
You think?
Yeah.
I mean, he might, but Oakland doesn't have like a history of paying top dollar for big free agents, so they don't have a history of paying top dollar for agents, but they do have a history of being. Billy Beane has a history of being more aggressive in his later years or his latter years than he did back in the day. Yeah,
and so they have a gaping hole from a need standpoint at shortstop. He's the best shortstop in the league right now that's available.
Yeah,
and they're a contender. Mm-hmm. Oakland is a contender, and so I think that come 25 days from now, Trevor Story is going to be in an Oakland Athletics jersey.
Yeah, he might be.
You heard it here first.
He might be.
I'm like the Adam Schefter of baseball.
So, I mean, they got Holiday from us, but I think the only reason they traded for Holiday is because he had another year on his contract, and they had every intention of trading him again before they had to pay him. They're going to have to pay Trevor Story or lose top picks to top prospects.
I think here's the thing. I think they're going to pay him.
They might. I mean, they are a competitive team, and he would give them a next leg up, so they might.
Yeah, I just think he's going to go there. I don't think he's going to go to the Yankees, even though I would love to see him in pinstripes.
Yeah, I would just love to see him.
I truly would.
Anything but purple. You know what? Actually, saying that, our color. Who picked purple?
I don't mind the purple though. I don't mind it. I think it's a cool color. I like you could rock like these.
Okay, yeah, those are pretty cool.
They're not terrible. No. I think they look pretty sweet.
Purple with black looks okay, but like when you're picking out like professional sports,
I don't know who.
What's gonna look real mean and intimidating? I don't know. How about purple?
Let's get a big Barney dinosaur and paint it purple.
Exactly. Our person is our mascot is Barney. I mean, he's a fun mascot. He's really good, but you got a purple dinosaur.
Yeah. Not great. So All-Star game coming to town in a couple of weeks here, in 3 weeks. Exciting about that. We definitely should do an All-Star game podcast. That's Sunday prior. Pick our home run derby.
We fill out who MVP winner. You know
who's gonna hit the longest home run, because there's a lot of freaking cool big long hitters. I hope Shohei Ohtani is in the home run derby.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, he's crazy. He's like modern day Babe Ruth, you know.
Literally, to throw 101 miles an hour and then get up the next inning and hit a 115-mile exit velocity home run is ridiculous.
And it's like in a day where athletes specialize at such a young age, to be one of the top hitter, like he's not the best hitter, but to be one of the top hitters in the league and to be one of the top pitchers in the league when starting at like 12 years old, these kids do nothing but pitch to get to the next level, or they do nothing but take batting practice. And so to be able to split your time up and be all-star level on both is just insane.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of all-star level, you know, I think Ryan McMahon is having an all-star level season now.
For sure. He needs to get some type of representation for the Rockies, because he's the only one who is deserving. I mean, I guess you can make an argument for Tapia. He's hitting the ball decent. But McMahon should represent us in a home run derby at the very least.
Absolutely. I mean, what he's sitting at 15 home runs. He's fifth. He's tied for fifth in the National League in home
Yeah.
runs. So it's
It
not
wouldn't
like
even
he's
be, yeah, it wouldn't even be like a here's your gimme. He just,
right. He puts him out. So I think Ryan McMahon is going to be good. I think he should represent the Rockies, like you said, in the Derby and in the game. He was obviously not going to start. I don't even think.
yeah, get a reserve role. There's not a lot of not a lot of past all stars who are having fantastic years this year. There's a lot of down years across the board. So give the new
Yep.
guy a shot.
Uh, Broncos talk. I mean, it was really interesting to see Kareem Jackson tweet out what he
Yeah.
tweeted out about Deshaun Watson.
What's more interesting about it is there's been no denial.
Right.
So it's like
Deshaun's like, I want to play in Denver.
yeah,
And we're like, we want you to play in Denver.
literally every Houston beat writer or an ESPN writer has called or texted and said, "Is this true? Are you going to deny this? Or is this real? Or did you hear what your buddy said?" There's been no like redaction saying, "No, man, I never said that." So that's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know if he's going to go to jail or not. So it's one of those things. If he gets convicted, he's going to jail. If he gets enough evidence to get him without getting convicted, he's getting suspended. So
I mean the 16 girls or whatever like that? Like there's already been like 12 of them that came out and said that they're lying.
oh really? I haven't really
Yeah.
followed it much, so that's
Well,
crazy.
yeah, well, here's the thing. I stopped following it because I didn't think we had a shot. And
Yeah,
then when everything started to snowball, it's just like, I don't want to, be involved in that. But then all of a
right.
sudden, when Kareem Jackson said what he said, and then to your point, Deshaun's like, I'm not denying it. I would love to play in Denver, hypothetically speaking. We're assuming he's saying that. Then I started paying attention a little bit more. Okay, what are our shots? Okay, if this plays out, then, if this, then that type of thing. And there's been a lot of people in that group that have come out and said, like, nope, this didn't happen. I made it up, blah, blah, blah. And then now there are some that are saying that it did happen. And he still has to go work through that process. Now, the question remains to you is, is the juice worth the squeeze when it comes to Deshaun Watson versus someone like an Aaron Rodgers? Do you say, hey, Deshaun, yep, like you're worth being suspended for 14 of the 16 games the first season that you're going to be a Bronco. However, you're with us for the next 8 years. Or
Yeah, so
would you take Aaron Rodgers 3 years? So would you rather say, hey, I'm a chance sitting Deshaun Watson being suspended or not being able to play for call it a year to have it for 7, or keep Aaron Rodgers for 3?
see, and that's hard.
Assuming both teams are willing to trade to the Broncos.
Right. I think Deshaun Watson probably costs a little bit more to get him than Aaron Rodgers, but they're both going to take multiple first rounds.
Mm-hmm.
I think Aaron Rodgers is probably going to get 2, and Deshaun Watson could get three or more, because he's going to have the next 10 to 12 years. Now, if you could get Deshaun Watson without losing a full season, that would be ideal. But our defense, man, there's a lot of older guys on our defense. I mean, you're going to have young guys mixed in with old guys, but Miller's older, Kareem Jackson's older, Callahan's older, a lot of 28 to 30 years old. And that's pretty old in the NFL, especially in the speed positions. So I don't even know if we get what's his face, the corner from Chicago, for a second season after this year. He's probably one and done since we drafted Surtain. So our defense is set up to win this year. So it would really sting a little bit to not have him come in and play this year.
Especially like they're saying this current secondary is better than our first no-fly zone.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think if you look across the board, you compare safeties. Ward was good, but limited. He was a good in the box safety. Who was their other safety at the time? I don't even know.
Darian Stewart.
Darian Stewart, yeah, and I have nightmares about him. So he was good, but I'll never forget that play.
He wasn't that one. That was Raheem the Nightmare Moore,
That's right. That's
the
right. Raheem
UCLA
Moore was
douchebag.
yeah, okay, yeah, and he was okay, but yeah, that's the guy that ruined our season.
Super Bowl team was T.J. Ward and Darian Stewart.
That's right, and then Chris Harris and
Aqib Talib,
and then Bradley Roby was the outside guy. So we're way upgraded over Bradley Roby at this point.
100%.
Callahan is not that much of a downgrade to Chris Harris in the slot. Now, Chris Harris at the time of the Super Bowl was the best slot cornerback in the NFL.
Correct.
So we're downgraded from that. And then I think, Talib was really good, but I think we're at least even there. And then Ward and Darian Stewart are a couple levels below Simmons in Jackson, I think. So
I agree. I think from a safety standpoint, we have upgraded. From a corner standpoint, we are break even.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And you know what? Who knows? Maybe Surtain is the next whatever his face is, Jalen Ramsey, and he's going to come in his rookie year and just be that lockdown guy from day one.
Yep, I would take a Richard Sherman-esque type player.
Yeah, I mean he's a free agent. He doesn't really fit.
I'm not saying like I would take Richard Sherman. I would say I want Surtain to be like that type of person, like a Jalen Ramsey.
If he could be that lockdown guy, he doesn't. Like wide receivers and corners, man, they have that prima donna type personality. He doesn't seem like that, and maybe that's because he's a second generation. And he's seen how good other players are or whatever, but he seems like he's got his work ethic and his head on straight. So hopefully
a little bit more humble.
Yeah. That'll be good. Now, assuming we're locked and loaded with our roster, Bridgewater, our lock, who do you think takes this team further, or who do you want to win the quarterback battle out of those two?
Oh, man.
I mean, I'll go first. My answer is easy. I want Drew Lock to win the quarterback battle.
Is it because you don't like that Teddy wears two gloves?
Yeah, it's not that Teddy two gloves is not going to be an okay quarterback, but he's not going to be better than he's ever been. Like he's not going to take that next step to being a good quarterback or a great quarterback. Drew Lock is still young. And if he wins the quarterback competition, maybe it means he's improved a little bit, and maybe it means he can take that step. So I guess my only thought process of this is hope that he can make a step, because I don't
hope's not a strategy, Mike. It doesn't work like that.
I know it's not a strategy, but it's like wish in one hand and in the other, and you know how that usually goes. So I'm wishing that Drew Lock can take that step to the NFL level starting quarterback.
Basically, what you're telling me is this. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're saying that Teddy Two Glove's ceiling is here.
Yes.
Drew Lock's ceiling might be here,
probably but he's more playing, like this.
Yeah,
but
he's playing here.
I think Teddy Bridgewater's floor is here and Drew Lock's floor is here. But I think, it's like there's not a whole lot of room for Bridgewater to be better or worse.
Agreed. We know what we know with Teddy Two Gloves.
Drew Lock, he can still be a top 15 quarterback in the NFL. But we know we know
okay.
He at bottom 35 in a 32 quarterback league.
Do you that means two backups are better than him.
That's what it was last season in QBR. He was like 35th rated.
Yep. And so I guess here's, being that he had such a horrific year last year, are you going to lose him mentally? Is it going to be so detrimental if Drew Lock starts the season for us, we, for whatever reason, lose the first 3 games, which we should not lose, playing the Giants, Jets, and Jacksonville, not in that order, but just as a collective. If we go 0-3 and Drew Lock is our quarterback, at that point do you say you're done being the quarterback for Denver?
yeah, you might as well take your jersey off because we're not even wanting you as backup at that point. And honestly, that's harsh. And I mean, I get it. You'd want him as a backup, but yes, absolutely. If he is that bad in the first 3 games, and then he has to be benched, bench him because he's done.
Hey, that's how you know it's real.
Yeah,
That's how you know.
we're real.
That's funny. No,
But
yeah.
yeah,
So and then have Teddy Two Glove it come in and drop his nutsack on Baltimore in Game 4, and we win for whatever reason.
yeah. I mean, it is what it is. You got to play the guy who wins games. You know who's on the trading block? I hear is Gardner Minshew. Would you want the mustache on our team?
No,
Better than anything we got.
I don't care.
And he's fun. He's like an '80s Gatorade commercial.
He just would annoy me all season long, literally all season.
Hey, if he can win or be competitive in Jacksonville with that team, he's got to be at least a little bit better than what we got.
I mean, he beat us at home.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I like his moxie. I like his swag. You know, Drew Lock has that like fake swag. It's like natural for Gardner.
Gardner reminds me a lot of Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, except without the alcoholism and the strippers.
Yeah, like he's like a cleaner, dirtier version of Johnny Manziel.
That's a good way to put it. Oh, speaking of Johnny Manziel, this guy just popped in my head. So Tim Tebow got signed on by the Jaguars a few weeks back. What do you think? He makes the team or no?
No, there's no fucking chance. There's no chance he makes that team. You kidding me?
He's as a tight end. He's not as a quarterback.
I don't care.
It's funny. As much as people hate on him, how many players can go from NFL quarterback, whether you're good or bad, doesn't matter. You were an NFL quarterback to a AA baseball player to back into the NFL. How many people in this world can even accomplish that? I mean, not a fan.
Deion Sanders.
Deion Sanders. Okay.
Bo Jackson.
So arguably the two greatest athletes in the history of the world.
Here's the thing: no one is taking away anything from Tim Tebow's athletic ability and his will to be a football player. No one.
He's old. He's never played tight end. He's got on the team or got a tryout because his second father is the coach. So of course he's not going to make the team. My thing is I thought it was funny that all the ESPN broadcasters were now saying Colin Kaepernick still not on a team and comparing it to that, but that's for a different podcast.
Colin Kaepernick he turned down offers. Like, I don't feel bad for the dude. He turned down an offer from the Broncos.
Broncos gave him an offer. He would have never missed a beat. He would have been in the NFL from the day he got cut from San Francisco.
And we wouldn't even be talking about a quarterback controversy at all because Drew Lock wouldn't even be on our team because I think Colin Kaepernick would be starting right now if he just would have taken the offer.
He would have gotten a job. He would have gotten a job had he just shown up to his tryout. Somebody
correct.
So,
but he's such a prima donna that I can't stand Colin Kaepernick, and he deserves everything he has coming to him.
Yeah, I mean he's got a big Nike contract and he's got a big social media presence now.
See, go do that. Go do that.
Do your thing. What else? Oh, Neuer transferred. The CU quarterback transferred to Oregon
State.
Yeah. He wasn't going to be the quarterback. Hopefully he's like a no talent, hard worker guy that he was at CU for 5 years. He played all right last year in the short season.
Yeah.
So I hope he gets some snaps in Oregon State. But the guy who played in place of him against Texas, man, he's going to be the best quarterback CU's had since Cordell Stewart.
Agreed. 1,000% agreed. They're going to be a fun team to watch. They really are.
Yeah. Yeah. What's his face? The running back. He's a Broussard. Yeah, he's a workhorse. He's going to be a beast. They should be good this year. I hope so. I hope the coach from UCLA. I think he had him in the right spots last year.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully they're good. We don't talk about them much here, so I'm excited for spring football and and for fall football, because really all we have to look forward to from now until football is the Rockies.
Yeah, we're super
That's
excited.
God, what is it? June 15th. So July 15th. We got 2 full months before
Literally,
football.
yeah.
Football starts up. Oh,
Preseason first game is August 22nd. So
geez,
we got a ways.
man. Goodness, it's gonna be rough.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's some good drama within the off season for us to talk about for all the sports teams. Fire Malone, fire Bednar. Is that his name for the Avalanche?
Yeah, he needs to go.
He's on the hot seat. I don't want him to fire Malone, but I would like him to fire Bednar.
Yep. I mean, I appreciate his suits. I'm not gonna lie. He looks sharp. But outside of that, he's a great dresser. Shitty coach.
Sakic needs to give Patrick Waugh another call. Get him back on the bench. Get the fire going. All right, man. It was
awesome.
Good.
Peace.
Pick it up again next week.
Sounds good, man. See ya.